Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Muhammad Khairul Anam Asri, and for this semester I have learned basic research courses which is ATU397 Management Study. Here I would like to thank to my supervisor, Associate Professor Dr. Siti Hassan and also Dr. Rosmel Elizabeth Yusuf as coordinator for these courses. My research title is Ethical Role in Credit Card Usage and Credit Card Debt Among Malaysians. Credit cards are the most popular medium of transactions for consumers. It is known as a type of short-term loan that has been issued by the financial institution to the account holder. The use of credit card has already become an excellent way to encourage the power of purchasing. The use of credit cards certainly gives advantage and disadvantage to consumers. As we all know, credit card can help consumers from carrying a lot of cash. At the same time, it also can affect the users. Credit cards strengthen dependently by allowing cardholders to spend their future income in advance. These facts put in discipline a cardholder into a debt trap. Hence, this study explores the ethical role of credit card usage and credit card debt among Malaysians. Researchers want to identify how the characteristic independence variable affects on the dependence variable. This suggestion will be provided to make sure, especially for Malaysia, to indirectly perceive the status of credit card debt will avoid the debt in the future. Several research questions are developed based on each objective as guidance to entire research and ensure that all activity and approaches conducted will not deviate from defined objective. The major research questions addressed in this study are: first, to investigate the connections between the individual characteristics of credit card users and credit card debt. Secondly, is to inquire the relationship between individual characteristics of credit card users and the compulsive buying attitude. Third is to identify the relationship between the compulsive buying attitudes and the credit card usage. And the last one is to test the relationship between compulsive buying and credit card debt. To achieve the objective, this study attempts to answer the following research question, which is: first, what is the connections between the individual characteristic of credit card users and the credit card debt? Secondly is, what is the relationship between the individual characteristic of credit card users and the compulsive buying attitude? Third is, does the credit card usage lead to the compulsive buying attitude? And the last one is, does compulsive buying lead to the credit card debt? From the literature review, it has been found that there are factors that affect the compulsive buying, and this method affects the credit card debt. This research framework is developed based on the previous study. As you can see, the factors which are believed that affects mediator compulsive buying are saving orientations, materialisms, and the last one is credit card usage. In research methodology, we have 4 steps. The first step is research design. The type of study is correlation study and the nature of study is cross-sectional study. The unit of analysis and the population must be the credit card user in Malaysia. The sample involving 170 respondents. This is because the sample of the populations that had been chosen by the researcher was based on the personal judgment to choose the suitable respondent. Second step is the questionnaire development. The measures used in this study were adopted and adapted based on the intensive literature review in the previous and the current study. The variables are measured by using the ordinal scale in the sections of background respondent. The first part of the questionnaire was using an interval scale of measurements. Respondents were asked to cooperate and indicate their agreements or disagreement with each of the statements designed based on 5 points of Likert scale for the independence variable, while 7 points of Likert scale for the dependence variable, which is credit card debt. In questionnaire design, it is structured into 3 sections. There are 34 items of the questionnaire altogether. Section 1 consists of the variables such as saving orientation, materialism, credit card usage, and compulsive buying. Section 2 was the items that measure the credit card debt. The last sections of this question required the respondent to fill in their demographic profile. The third step is data collections. In this part, the online questionnaire will be distributed through all channels. The purpose of the survey is informed and permission is asked before respondents answer the questionnaire. The last step is data analysis. The data were coded and analyzed using the computerized SPSS. The data will transform into descriptive analysis, validity and reliability analysis, and the last is regressions. Chrombar alpha represents how much the independence variable is associated with the dependence variable. Items with the Chrombar alpha value of 0.7 or greater are considered acceptable and accurate. In contrast, items with the alpha value of less than 0.5 are not acceptable and would be discarded due to low item reliability. Overall, the Chrombar alpha shows that good significance which all the value is greater than 0.6. Multiple regressions analysis was performed to determine the relationship between the independence variables such as saving orientations, materialism, and credit card usage to compulsive buying, which is mediator. Then it be used to determine the relationship between the compulsive buying towards to credit card debt, which is dependence variable. From the table of independence variable and compulsive buying, the R-square value is 0.182 shows the percentage of variance in the bounds variable that can be explained by the independence variable. We can conclude that all the three variables can explain only 18.2% variations in compulsive buying. This result shows that all the independence are affects the compulsive buying at the significance level, which is P below than 0.05. From the table of compulsive buying and credit card debt, the R-square value is 0.348, shows that the compulsive buying sufficiency predicted approximately only 34.8% of the variations in credit card debt. Further examinations of the result shows that compulsive buying was significant positive relationship with credit card debt at significance level 0.05. Here is the new framework of delivery model after the analysis, while the table shows that all the hypotheses, which is saving orientations, materialism, credit card usage, and compulsive buying are accepted and supported. For discussion research findings, saving orientation shows the influence on compulsive buying. In this case, it mentions that a person who has more income will save their income. First, they will make a person feel comfortable with their current saving and encourage them to spend more compulsively as a self-reward for each actions that manage to save first. However, they will spend more cautiously. Therefore, a person who prefers saving money and a person who prefers to spend their money has a different priority. And secondly, the materialism also shows the positive influence on compulsive buying. This research examines the accuracies of materialism belief that purchasing brings them happiness. This study finds that consumers tend to spend impulsively and usually make an extra purchase when they use the credit card. Since the respondents were mostly in the range of 21 to 30, the results were also consistent with Dittmar 2005, who found that the materialism contribute to increase in compulsive buying behavior, especially among younger consumers. Credit card usage shows the influence on compulsive buying. This is because younger people are most likely to use credit card, while some older people are more familiar with cash payment system. For youngest generations, credit card usage contribute to the lifestyle and allow them to boost satisfaction. In Malaysia, both gender are men and women are more likely to have credit card. It can explain men and women tend to use it for shopping with family. This context also shows that overspending has compulsive effects on that trap. That trap are straightforward to neglect because of consumer spending on their credit card. And the last is compulsive buying shows the influence on credit card debt. The financial institutions need to be cautious while targeting credit card users who may start as impulse buyer but gradually become compulsive buyer by exhibiting a more vital urgency to buy. Consequently, this consumer may overspend and be unable to repay the debt, which may negatively impact on consumer and society. Hence, it shows that saving orientations, materialism, and the credit card usage have the positive impact on compulsive buying, and compulsive buying, which is a mediator, has been reported to influence on credit card debt. There are 3 points for implications. The first is the researcher found that the credit card debt depends on the persons how they manage and spends according to the specific rate. These study implications are essential for further study and perspective on planning to avoid credit card debt. Secondly, this research results are crucial for the business to interact with consumers to know the patterns of the ethical role in credit card usage and credit card debt. For instance, usually Malaysians prefer to spend their own money on luxury items. The last is this research also shows some practical implications towards consumers on how they make decisions making. Indirectly, it will show that the factor through saving orientations, materialism, and credit card usage impacts on compulsive buying. In conclusion, the researcher found that the credit card usage seems to have attracted well-educated, middle-aged, and maybe upper-middle-class members. This result leads to policymakers and credit card providers need to implement effective policy to track the cardholders who are heavily contingent on credit card usage. The researcher also found that there is a relationship between consumer behavior towards on credit card debt. Consumers need to be aware of the extravagant nature that is often done while making expenses effects on financial life. For customers who are less experienced in using credit card, the risk of a significant and uncontrollable debt load on them is high because of interest rate. Therefore, financial disciplines need to start at an early age at home and be reinforced in the Malaysian education system. This research has a few limitations. Continuing research is needed to conduct to improve the research. It is hoped that this study will give valuable insight and understanding on influence factors on credit card debt, which would then become a reference and inspiration in developing or improving the marketing strategy in industry. Thank you.